two consecutive positive even numbers are such that the sum of their squares is 164. Find the two numbers. Okay, so you can use any letter that you want. For me, I'll just use letter X, okay, or X. So let X be my first number, okay, and then okay, not first number, first even number, and then so X plus 2 is my second even number. Do you still remember this? So we have discussed this last term. So when it comes to even or odd numbers, and then if we're asking, if we're asked for consecutive even or odd numbers, we always start with X, okay, any letter will do. And then the next number is always X plus 2, regardless if it's even or odd, okay. And then obviously if the third number is being asked, so it becomes X plus 4, and then X plus 6, and then so on and so forth, okay. So that's the pattern for this type of questions. Okay, now let's write our equation. So therefore, so the sum of their squares is 164. Okay, so we need to square both of the numbers. So it becomes X squared plus X plus 2 squared equals 164. Okay, so this is now X squared. And how do you expand this one? Okay, so when you expand that, that becomes X squared plus 4X plus 4 equals 164. All right, so let's simplify this side first. So I can combine X squared plus X squared. So I got 2X squared. Bring down 4X plus 4. And then how do we solve for quadratic equations? This should be equal to 0, right? Okay, one side should be empty always. Okay, so what should I do with 164? I'll transpose this to the left side. So it becomes minus 164 equals 0. Okay, so let me just simplify this further. So this is now 2x squared plus 4x. Okay, this is minus 160 equals 0. Now, can we make the numbers smaller? I think yes. So I'll just divide everything by 2. Okay. So my simplified equation is now x squared plus 4x, sorry, plus 2x, sorry for that, minus 80 equals 0. Okay, now this is now the standard form, right? So what do we do next? How do we solve for the values of x? What do? We factorize this now. How can we factorize this? So you have 3 terms, so probably, okay, so we will use guess and check, right? So how do you factor out this? Okay, so for this one, this is x and then x. How about 80? Remember this? Factors of negative 80, sum of positive 2. So what two numbers, when we multiply them, it's equal to 80. And then when we add them, it's equal to 2. So obviously, I think it's 10 and 8, right? Okay, but which one is negative, 10 or 8? Because this is positive 2. So that means that the bigger number should be positive. So this is negative 8, right? So 10 times negative 8 is negative 80. 10 minus 8 is 2. So we have our factors here. So let's continue here. So let's continue on this part here. So it becomes, sorry. So it becomes x plus 10 and then x minus 8 equals 0. So what are the values of x? So what do we do next after this? We equate each term by 0. So x plus 10 equals 0, and then the other one is x minus 8 equals 0. So what are the values of x? X is negative 10, x is equal to 8. Okay, but then, which one is the correct answer, negative 10 or positive 8? Hmm? Now, if we go back to our problem, we are looking for positive even numbers. So basically, negative 10 is out of the question, right? Because we're looking for positive even numbers. So therefore, your correct answer is 8, right? X is 8. But then, the question is, we need to find the sum of the two numbers. So basically, it's x plus 2. So what is the sum of the two numbers? So it becomes 8 plus 10 is equal to 18. So this is your final answer, 18. Okay. So do you have any question, class? None? Okay. Okay. Oh, this one. Please go to page 126. This is my
Wait, so I
second to
need
the
to
last.
write the correct answer. I have to write the working like you did.
Okay, this one. You can just take a screenshot if you want.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Okay. All right, so let's have another. This is my second to the last example for today. Okay. Now this one, it's a bit trickier compared to the first one. Okay, so it has something to do with perimeter and area of rectangles. Okay, so let's have the problem now. So number 2, the perimeter of a rectangular garden is 50 meters, and its area is 150 meters squared. Calculate the length and breadth of the garden. Okay, so first things first. Okay, we need to designate values for the length and the breadth, right? Okay, so for this one, let x, okay, be my be the length. Okay, and then how about for the breadth? What should we do with the breadth? Okay, now for the breadth, take note of this. For the breadth, I'm going to use the uh, perimeter formula. Okay, for rectangles. Okay, take note of that. So what should I do? What's the formula for getting the perimeter of a rectangle? It's P is equal to 2L plus 2B, right? Twice the length plus twice the breadth, right? Now, it says here in the question that the perimeter is 50. So P becomes 50 equals, what is L? L is X, right? So we can just write this as 2X, okay? And then plus 2B. Now we're looking for B. How do we get B here? How do we get for the breadth? So, so listen carefully. So this one, so I'll transpose 2x to the left side. So it becomes 50 minus 2x is equal to 2b. Now, if I need b, I need to get rid of 2, right? So how do I get rid of 2? I'll divide both sides by obviously by 2, right? Okay. So b is canceled out. So b is equal to, what is 50 minus 2x divided by 2? So it's basically 25 minus x. Okay, so therefore, take note of this, x is my length, and my breadth is 25 minus x. Okay, so do you have any question, class? Hmm? Okay, so again, x is length, and then for my breadth, it's 25 minus x. Do you have any question, class? How did we get the breadth? Okay, so basically again, we use the perimeter formula for getting the breadth. Now, next, the question is, we need to calculate the length and the breadth of the garden. Now for this one, we're going to use the area formula. Okay. So wait, let me write something here. Wait. Hold on. Okay. So for getting the length and the breadth, okay, let me use the area formula. Okay, what's the formula for getting the area of a rectangle? It's one of the easiest formula, I think. So area of the rectangle is equal to length times breadth, right? So the area is given, right? It's 150 meters square. So A becomes 150 equals, what is L? What is the length? Length is this one, right? It's X. So this should be X, right? And then what is breadth? So breadth is this one, right? So it is 25 minus X. So there you go. There's your equation now. And then we just solve for the values of X. So how do we answer this? So we should transform this into standard form first, right? So bring down 150 equals, what do we do with this? So how do we get rid of this bracket? So we basically distribute X inside the brackets. So we'll get 25X minus X squared, okay? Now, what do we do next? So we need to transform this back to standard form. Everything here is equal to 0, right? So I suggest put everything on the left side, okay? So it becomes, so negative x squared becomes positive x squared now. And then minus 25x plus 150 equals 0. So there you go. This is now in standard form, okay? And then what's next after this? How do we factorize this? Okay, so this is by guess and check again. So this is x and x. How about this? So what two numbers will give us 150 when we multiply them, okay? And then when we add them, it will give us negative 25. Okay, so it's basically 10 and 15, right? So it's 10 and 15, okay? And take note, both of them should be negative, right? Because negative 10 times negative 15 will give you positive 150. And then adding them will give you a negative 25. So that's it. That's our answer. So we have x minus 10 and then x minus 15 equals 0. Okay. So what are the values of our x? Okay, so what do we do next? So we equate each factor by 0. So it gives us x minus 10 equals 0. And then the other one is x minus 15 equals 0. So what are the values of x? So x is equal to 10 or x is equal to 15. Okay, so we have choices again. So which one is the correct answer? Which is the breadth? Which is the length? Hmm? Okay, so in a rectangle, which one is the longer side, the length or the breadth? Hmm? Sec 2. In a rectangle, which is the longer side, the length or the breadth? Hmm?
Length.
Okay, so if you have 10 and 15, which do you think is the length here? Okay, so the length here is what? 15, right? So 15 meters. And then obviously the breadth is equal to 10 meters. So these are your answers. So do you have any question, class, with this word problem? Hmm? Sec 2, do you have any question?
Oh,
Anyone?
what is?
Tristan.
Yeah, the area.
Yeah, this one. Okay, no question. All right, so let me have my last example for today. And then later on, you'll do practice now number 5. Okay, so practice on number 5 is similar with this. Okay, but let me finish discussing my last example for today. So it's also in your book on page 126. Okay, so this one. So this is a real life problem modeled by a quadratic equation. So you'll find this on page 126. Okay, so the height denoted by y meters of an object projected directly upwards from the ground can be modeled by y is equal to 45t minus 5t squared, where t is the time in seconds after it leaves the ground. Okay, so first is calculate the height of the object 5 seconds after it leaves the ground. And number 2, at what time will the object strike the ground again? Now, okay, you might be surprised. Oh, what question is this? Okay, why is this a real life problem? All right, so let's say we have Edgar here, right? Okay, so this is Edgar with his here. Okay, now Edgar threw something. Let's say a basketball. Okay, now he threw the basketball at a certain projection, right? So when you throw something, it goes up and then it goes down again, right? Like this, right? Am I right? It's like two. That's how you throw something, right? It has a certain projection like that. Okay. So now this curve here is modeled by a certain formula equation that's in the problem. So y is equal to 45t minus 5t squared. So that is the equation of this curve right here. All right. So y is the height in meters, and then t is the time of the equation. Okay. So basically, the first question here is what is the height of the object after 5 seconds? So when Edgar throws the basketball, so there's a, let's say, in 5 seconds, let's say 5 seconds is here. This is 5 seconds. So what's the height of the ball here? Okay. So how can we compute for the height of the ball after 5 seconds? Obviously, we need to use the equation given. Okay. So what do you think is the answer here? All right, let's solve that now. Okay. So for number 1, um, so we calculate the height of the object after 5 seconds, right? So t is equal to 5 seconds, or just 5 seconds. And then using the formula y is equal to 45t minus 5t squared. So we just basically plug in for the value of t, and then that's it. So, sorry, y is equal to 45 times 5 minus 5 times 5 squared. So solving this, you can use your calculator for this. Okay, so it is 100. Okay, 100 meters. Okay, so basically, the height of the object after 5 seconds is 100 meters from the ground. Do you have any question, class? Okay, so that's it. That's the height of the ball or the object after 5 seconds. Okay, so again, so the projection is always like that. Okay, so after, let's say after 5 seconds, the height of the ball is 100 meters from the ground. Okay, this one. All right, now next question, number 2. Now, at what time will the object strike the ground again? So, coming back from Edgar's, okay, okay, when he threw the ball, okay, so the basketball, so he threw the ball like this, right? And then the question for number 2 is that at what time um, will the ball strike the ground again? So, basically, the question here is t, or the time, right? Okay. So think of this like when you touch the ground, okay, when you touch the ground, is there any height? Is there any height of the object? Yes or no? When the ball is on the ground, is there any height projected? Sec 2? Is it a yes or a no? Do you have a height?
Uh,
If the ball is already on the ground, do you have a
yeah,
height
we do. We do.
from the
Wait.
ground? It's touching the ground already. So what's the height here if it's touching the ground? What do you think is the height? Does it have a height if it's on the ground? Of course, it's
Yeah,
what?
it
What?
does.
I mean, the distance of the ball from the ground. If it's touching the ground already.
Wait.
So there's no distance between the ball and the ground, right? So that means that your distance here is equal to 0 meters, right? Because the ball is already touching the ground. So there's no distance between the ball and the ground. So there's no height at all. Okay. So what do we mean by that? Okay. So therefore, whenever you see this one, okay, so object will strike the ground again or hit the ground again, that means that y is equal to 0. In this case, y is the height, right? Okay, so that means y is equal to 0 meters, or just basically 0. So let's write that now. So y is equal to 0. Again, because it's already on the ground. So we need to solve for t, right? So the formula was 45t minus 5t squared equals 0. Okay, because y now is 0, right? That's why this is 0. So what do we do? How do we factor out, or how do we factorize this? Okay, now this one is finding 4 common factors. Okay, 45 and 5 are divisible by 5, right? And then you have t and t squared on both terms. But then we always choose the one with the lowest or lower exponent or index. Okay, so your common factor is 5t. So what do we do? So 45t divided by 5t, what do we get? So we get 9 minus 5t squared divided by 5t. So what do you have? It's just t, right? Equals 0. So what's next? So we equate each factor by 0. So this now becomes 5t equals 0, and then the other one is 9 minus t equals 0. So t here is 0, and then t here is equal to 9. So which one is the correct answer? We have a choice again. Which one is the correct answer, 0 or 9? Obviously, if it's 0, that means that the ball haven't left Edgar's hand. It's still on his hand, right? Obviously, the correct answer is 9, right? So that's the amount of time the ball will hit the ground again. So the correct answer is 9, okay, or 9 seconds.